It is me again, Jess from KnotSewOrdinary. I am coming to you again today to do another video of making some of my custom orders that I've got coming through. I appreciate you taking the time to watch the video, and hopefully you're finding the videos that I'm posting, if not educational or helping you out with making your own crafts. Hopefully you're finding it interesting seeing the items that you're ordering from me actually being made. So and that's kind of why I'm doing this, just so people can see what goes into the projects being made. If other people are interested in making the projects themselves, then they'll have, it's not quite a tutorial because I'm not like going in depth with it, but I'm kind of explaining what I'm doing. So if anybody has any questions or ever has any custom order requests, feel free to shoot us a message, either myself or Paige. If one or the other can't do it, at least we can let you know, if it's something that's doable and how much you might be looking at. So today I have a bunch of orders for my my little zippered pouches. Like, for example, this is what we're going to be making. I use one as a wallet for, like, I carry all my stuff in here, and I have a little lanyard on it so I can carry it around. But this is where obviously I keep my keys, but it is just a crocheted little pouch, and then it's got a zippered canvas bag on the inside. So I do have quite a few orders for some of these going out with or without the lanyards. Currently the ones I'm making do not have the lanyards, but that's something you can always request. So in order to make this project, I am going to need a pair of scissors, my go-to hook, which is a 4.5 millimeter, my handy dandy best buddy, my Susan Bates darning needle, and then I think I'm going to do something a little different this time. So I'm going to use my cotton string with this, my cotton yarn. So it's not quite, I don't have the wrapper for it, but I think it's like a size 2 or maybe 4, but I want to say 2 yarn. It's just a bit of a thinner yarn than the worsted weight acrylic yarns. I do like using the cotton for these bags. But with these, I'm going to put on a little embellishment I've run across recently. I have an overabundance of these D-rings. So I've decided to take, some sort of thin thread or yarn, and I've got a ton of beads as well. So I've just been making some different little kind of charm embellishments. Example, here is one of the longer ones that I'm using for the water bottles that I've been doing, the water bottle bags. So that's one of those. But I did take, I'm going to make 2 of these pouches today. One of them's primarily going to be pinks, and one of them is going to be like a beige and a green. But I thought I would do, see if I can hold them where you can see them. I thought I would do these fun little charms to hang off of them, and all it is just a little bit of string with a wooden bead around there, but it'll just be a little accent piece that is going to go on these bags that I'm doing today. So some have that, some don't. Some have the lanyard strap that's detachable, some don't. But I just want to throw that out there. I am using a little larger size than I usually use today. This is one of the canvas zippered bags. This is how I get it. It's just a plain, but I don't have to then sew in the zipper or line it. It's already lined, and I just crochet a pouch, and then I attach the pouch that I crochet to this. So this is one of the parts I'll be working with today. And then, as I said, I'm going to be using green and like a sage and a beige. It's kind of left over from another project that I had. So I'm going to use these colors for this first pouch that I'm making today. In order to get this started, again, I don't have any written pattern that I'm going by with this. I've made a couple smaller ones. I'm going to pretty much use the same technique that I used for those to get this one going. The first thing I do is create a slip knot, and then I'm going to chain. I want to chain in multiples of 3. So I'm gonna probably start off, usually I do about a chain of 21, but I think because this one's a little bit longer, I'm gonna try and go 33 and see how that goes. So 1, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, it's about 33. So 33 is going to be, even though I'm going to stitch on here, it's going to be quite big. So I'm going to go ahead and pull back about 6 to see. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which would take me to about 27. 27 is still kind of long, so I guess I'm going to go ahead and do a chain of 24. Okay, so that should be a chain of 24. So, so that's 8 sets of 3, and that looks like that should work perfectly. So in order to work this, I'm actually going to do one extra, excuse me, one extra stitch so I can turn my work. And then going back, I'm going to do a single crochet all the way back across this chain. But with this first round here, I want to go into that very back loop of the chain. So not up in front where the V chain is, it's going to be in the back of the loop. I'm going to go ahead and go in there and do a single crochet all the way across. And I should come up with 24 stitches across, just as I did before, or just as long as my chain was, I should say. And then once I get to the end, I'm going to put in 2 stitches to go around the corner and then work along that front side of the stitch. And when I work inside the front, I'm going to go through both loops of it, which I can kind of show you when I get there. So with these pouch bags, I like to work from the bottom up. So I do make it like an unlined bag from the get-go, and then I just insert the pouch inside, and then I kind of sew it together that way. I don't like going around the top and then going down and having to sew it together. I like just starting from the bottom and working up. Works the easiest for me for this pattern. Okay, I'm about 3 stitches from the end here. And then when I get to the end and I'm working around, I want to make sure I'm tucking in that beginning tail, because I don't want to have to, if you've watched some of my other videos, I really hate weaving in ends at the end of a project. I like to, if possible, weave them in as I'm going. So I just went into the last back loop stitch. I've gone across that original chain. Now I want to go ahead and put in 2 more single crochets in that same stitch at the end here, and it's going to kind of just turn the work around to the other side. and then I'm going to lay that tail across my stitches here, and then I'm going to go through every stitch. I'm going to go through both of those loops from that original chain, and I'm just going to single crochet all the way to the end, going through both loops. And then, because coming up that first side, I was going into those back, the very back loop, and then now I'm coming through along the front in those two loops. It's making a real nice tight stitch. Sometimes when you do a chain and you try to work around it, if you don't go in this pattern, you tend to get big holes, and I don't like that look. So this just makes it a more uniform, real nice look. So again, I'm going to just go ahead and continue for this round. I'm going to go ahead and continue working one single crochet in each one of these two loop stitches from that original chain until I get to the end. When I get to that final stitch, just as I did on the other side, there's going to be I'm going to go ahead and put 3 stitches into that, which will bring me, it'll kind of curve the work back around to the very beginning of this second round. Technically it's a first round. We did a chain. This is the first round around the chain. So when I'm going into my second round, it'll kind of get me started up at the beginning here. Got about 3 more stitches to the end. Oh. Okay, in that final stitch, so there's 1, 2, and 3. So I'm going to slip stitch into that first stitch that I did on the other side, and there completes that first round. I'm going to alternate colors back and forth here, but I'm going to stick with this color for probably 2 more rounds. To do the second round here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to real quick see if I can find a stitch marker. I don't know if I've got one, so I'm just going to sneak a piece of yarn. I want to use some yarn that's a different color than what I'm using though. So I had slip stitched and I chained one. I'm going to go ahead and put my string in here because this is going to signify, actually I'm going to wait a minute here. It's going to signify the first stitch of the round 2. So I'm going to do a double crochet in that same stitch. Then I'm going to do a double crochet in the next 2 stitches. So there's 3 double crochets together. I'm going to skip this next stitch and then put 3 double crochets in the next 3 spaces. Okay, so I've got 2 sets of 3 and it's separated by that one skipped stitch that I've got. I'm going to skip the next stitch here and do my 3rd set of 3 double crochets. Skip a stitch, go into my 4th set of 3 double crochets. Skip a stitch, my 5th set of 3 double crochets. I want 6 sets of these 3 double crochets on either side of this beginning piece for the length that I want here. possibly a 7th one. No, it will be 6 for sure. Okay, so I'm going to skip that stitch, and then the last 3 stitches on this side are actually going to be, if I counted correctly, which I'm pretty confident I did, that was my 6 sets of 3. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, yes. I have a knot in my yarn I need to work out. All right. So at the end here, I'm going to go ahead and skip the next stitch, which is right on that edge, and then do another set of 3 double crochets. So there's 1, 2, and 3. So that's my first set of 3 on that back side. So I'm going to skip the next stitch, do 3. This will be my second group of 3. Then I'm going to skip this next stitch, do another set of 3 double crochets. So that's my third set of 3 on this back side. Skip a stitch, fourth group of 3. Skip the next, and this is my 5th group of 3. Skip this next stitch, and then there will be my 6th group of 3. Okay, so I'm going to skip the next stitch, and it looks like maybe my math was kind of silly here. Again, I'm not working with a pattern. I'm going to skip and do 1 double crochet in that end piece here, just to keep it rounded. I'm going to skip that next stitch, and then I'm going to slip into the top of that first double crochet on the beginning part here. Well, sorry, I just pulled a stitch out that I didn't want. Okay, slipping into the top of this one. 1, 2, 3. All right, now the work should start looking like a little pea pod, kind of, or green bean. So it's going to be a little canoe, and that is what we want. We're going to chain 2. We're going to chain 3 where we're at. Nope, we're going to chain 2, and then we're going to make sure the work is, we're going to flip the work so that the next open space, where we skipped a space, we want to go into that next open spot where we had skipped a space, and there's kind of a little gap, and we're going to put in a cluster of double crochets. A cluster of double crochets is just 3 double crochets into that same opening. We're not going to do any stitch in between. We're just going to keep going into each one of those gaps, the gaps between the 3 counts, and we're just going to do a double crochet cluster in all of those. So this is going to start looking like a granny stitch now. I'm going to go ahead and finish off this round and then switch colors. And then because this is so repetitive, I'm probably going to do the bulk of the working on this off camera, just to make the time of this video not be quite so long. It's going to be so completely repetitive. You can either do solid color the entire thing. You could switch colors every row if you wanted to. I'm gonna switch colors. I think I'm gonna do the switching of the colors like every 2 rows. This is, I think, kind of what I've got planned in my head. But we've got just a handful more of these clusters to do for this round, and then I want to show you what it's starting to look like. Let's see. So then there's not another gap in between where I started, so I'm going to go into the top of that very first stitch that I had done and do a slip knot to close that up. And then just to show you kind of what we're working with, so that original line is going to be the very bottom. It's going to go along the bottom part of our canvas pouch. So this will essentially sit inside there. And if you're going to do this, this is also another good idea, is to just try it on. Make sure before you go any further that it is going to slip over and fit. So once I'm done with the length of this, it's going to go up this, you know, about this high. So again, we have that base that we did, then we did the groups of 3 with that space in between, started those. Now we've got our clusters, which is like a granny stitch. You got the clusters, and then as you go into each space, you're going to have another space up here. So the next row that we're going to work on, we'll do our clusters in each one of these spaces. But again, I'm going to go ahead and do a color change. And since I don't want, I'm going to be going back and forth with colors, and I don't want a lot of knots, what I'm going to do is just leave a fairly long line of yarn hanging, because I am going to go ahead and weave that in at the end. I'd rather just weave in one. Then I'm going to just slip knot. Now it's attached to the work. I'm going to leave the green just hang while I work with this one. And every other row you're going to flip inside out and right side out. You're going to flip back and forth every time you work another row, because where my yarn is attached right now, it's to the left. Like if I was trying to work this way, I would have to work backwards. That's not comfortable to me, so I just flip the work inside out. And now I'm going to work into this hole where or the gap in between. Sorry, because I attached, I do need to chain 2. That's going to be the first double crochet. We'll go into that gap and do 2 more double crochets to do that cluster, and then we'll switch over to that next one. So again, I'm just leaving that long cord that I started with the tan or the beige, and then I've got my green hanging there, and then my working cord for the beige just coming in front. So we're just going to leave these hang and not do anything. We'll just work around them as we're moving up, so that I won't need to, I'm going to carry it as I can up each row that I do, just so I don't have to tie off and reattach, because that just starts looking real messy if you do a lot of color changes. Okay, so again, I'm going to go ahead and do a couple stitches here to just show you what it's looking like thus far, and then I will start working off camera to build my height and then pop back in. But before I go do that, I'm going to go ahead and finish up this cluster here and just show you what I've got going on. So again, we've got that base at the very bottom here, and then our groups of 3 with the space in between. And this was our first row of clusters. Now we're on that second row of clusters where they are going in to the holes in between each of those stitches. So I'm just going to keep repeating this back and forth, just keep going until I have enough height to where most of this bag is going to be covered. So I'm going to work off camera. If you're working along with me, go ahead and work a bit, maybe pause, but check back in because I'm going to pop back on when I get a little bit further here. Thank you. All right, so I'm back. Gotta be honest, I kind of started working and got sidetracked. I did not stop. So I did finish the first bag that I was working on. I crocheted those stitches up until it was about the same size as the pouch. And then the last few rows is where I added on the little embellishment in the couple of rows of single crochets I had on the top. And then I just used my needle and I kind of went through into the canvas along the side of the zipper, which is really hard to see in this light. But I went into the canvas, the layer of canvas, and then back through my stitches. So the crochet is completely attached all around to this pouch, lined pouch bag, and it has the zipper. So this one does have the little, just a little decorative bead on there just to give it a little extra flair. So that one is complete. I did go ahead, since I was off camera, went ahead and started another. I did the same thing, only I added in my other colors at the bottom. I kind of just dragged them up and then I worked them up the side on the inside, so they'll be hidden on the inside of my work. I came up this tall. I'm gonna just finish. I see I've got one more cluster of double crochets to go for, whoops, to finish up this row. All right, so then because I'm carrying these other colors of yarn along the side here, I have them in the inside. When I go ahead and slip stitch to join this round to the beginning, I want to also make sure that I have those strings wrapped around as well so that they get caught on that inside of that stitch. So again, it's going to carry it up the side on the inside. So I'm going to go ahead and put them back inside. I don't want them right now. I am going to do one extra stitch and pull, because at this point I just want to double check that this pouch is going to fit in here, that I've got enough rows to where I want to be. So I'm making sure the bottom goes all the way down to the bottom stitches there, that it's not folded like this. Okay, so it's open all the way, it's fitting just perfectly. So I have just, if you can see, just a little bit of space left. That's exactly what I wanted, because I want to do a few rows of some single crochet around the top edge, and that's where I'm going to add on the little D-ring with the bead, the little decoration in the front. So I'm going to be adding that in about the middle of one of the sides here. Because I'm going to be doing some single crochets now, I'm not going to do any more color changes. I am going to just pull that string nice and tight, and then I'm going to lay the extra strings along the top and work them into the next few stitches here, just to bury them in so I don't have to weave them in at the end. So all I'm going to do at this point is just do single crochets all the way around the entire piece of work. I'm going to do the one row of the single crochets. Excuse me, I had the hiccups there. I'm going to do the single row of, or the one row of the single crochets before I add on the embellishment. So all I'm doing is those stitches all the way around, which is almost 50 stitches, so this is going to take just a little bit of time here. If anyone else is interested in purchasing these pouches, the smaller size, like my little wallet clutch that I had shown, I do sell those depending on if it's a little more of an intricate design. I might charge $12, but those are regularly $10. Now this size is just a little bit larger. So here is again that smaller size like I have for my wallet, and then this size, if you look, is about, I'm gonna say, well, if I just actually use the pouch itself is going to be about a little over an inch, inch and a half wider and taller. So I don't have, it's probably, I'm gonna guess about a 5x7, whereas this I think was a 4x6. So this is probably just over a 5x7 size. These again, depending on how elaborate of a design it is, how long it might take to work it up. These I will be selling for starting at $15. So the ones that I'm currently working on with these embellishments, because it's not a super crazy expensive one or anything, this would be $15 for this bag. And then also, if you do order a clutch bag, you can use them for like a makeup bag, a small clutch purse. You could use it for all kinds of things. Little pencil bag. If you wanted, you can order it with a lanyard wristlet that's detachable. We could do that as well. Generally, I would say that's an extra $3 charge for the hardware, and to whip up that little bit of a wristlet. That would be about an extra $3 charge if you wanted that. All you'd have to do is just make note that that's something you'd be interested in, and we can definitely do that for you. All right, I am back to that first stitch, so I'm going to go ahead and start another stitch there. I had a stitch marker and I lost it again. I'm losing every stitch marker I have today. Use my string again then, put that in there. Just want to keep an idea of where I started. So what I'm going to do is go all the way around again, because I buried my stitches back here. You can kind of see them through the back. I'm going to make this be the back of the bag. So when I put on that embellishment, I'm going to put it on in the middle of the front. And since I have 7 of these granny square type stitches, this is the center stitch. So I'm going to pretty much center it right on top of that when I put it on. And also, since I'm going to be coming around, I'm just going to real quick mark that first stitch so that I don't pass it up. I make sure to remember that's where I'm going to insert that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead back onto the back of the work here and resume with my single stitches. if you're making one of these for yourself and you're wondering where I get the canvas pouches, I get mine from the Michael's Craft store that I live by. This is not affiliated by Michael's by any means either, but that is where I get mine. I know if you look online, they like Amazon, who is also not a sponsor or affiliated with me, they carry them as well. So that might be something for you to check out if you're interested. Since I hit my stitch marker here, I'm going to pull those out and then grab the little embellishment, the little D-ring, because I'm at those middle 3 stitches above that middle cluster. So I'm just going to put my hook into the D-ring, into the next stitch, and then finish my single crochet with that inside the stitch. I'm going to go back into the D-ring again. I don't know that you can see it. Into the next stitch, yarn over and pull through, finish up that stitch, and then a third time I'm going to go into the D-ring, into that 3rd stitch, and then finish off. So I just completed 3 single stitches with that D-ring under it, so it is now embedded into the work. So then I'm going to go ahead and just finish off the little bit of this round for single crochets. After this round, I'm going to do one more round of single crochets before we start attaching to the canvas bag. So I have about 4 more stitches here. Okay. And now I am back to that beginning stitch, and again, so that move there. So again, there's the work that we've got. So this final round that I'm going to do one more round of single crochets, but with this round, because I want a definite line, I'm going to go ahead and go behind the stitch on the inside of the work and go into that 3rd loop, and then go ahead and make a single crochet into that inside that back 3rd loop. And I'm going to go ahead and do that all the way around because it's such a long round and it's just the same thing over and over. I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera, and then once I complete this round, I will be back so that we can go ahead and attach this to the canvas. Be right back. All right, I am back. So I went ahead and finished, because I did that back row, or did the stitch in that 3rd row back there. It made just a little bit of a lip around the back. Okay, so now that I have this shell done, I'm going to take a really long tail. I'm going to cut that, and it's going to be quite a long tail. So I finished there. I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into that next stitch, and I'm going to pull that really long tail all the way through. Okay, tighten that up. And then what I need is to find my needle. There it is. Okay. We're gonna thread our needle here with this really long cord. And then I'm gonna go ahead and take this pouch. I like to unzip it and put my hand in there and open my hand real wide to make sure that that base is stretched out all the way, because I just want to make sure that this is going to sit in here flush the way it's supposed to without bending. Okay, so if you see, it's kind of rippled. I don't want that, so I'm going to stretch my cotton. That's another reason why I like to work with cotton. I want to stretch it out so that it's fitting around this nicely. Okay. Because when we attach it, we don't want it bundled up. So I'm just stretching. Beautiful. Okay. So it's sitting in that zippered bag, just has where the zipper is, and then a very tiny bit of the canvas. Okay, there, tiny bit of that canvas. So what I'm going to do is take this needle, and because I left off in a corner, I'm going to go ahead and go into that stitch underneath. I'm going to go underneath that stitch, okay? And I'm going to stab through that canvas bag, and I'm going to go as close to that top as I can. Now in this canvas bag there's a little liner, there's like a silky liner, and then there's the canvas outside. I'm going to maneuver that needle here in between those two layers so it's hidden. You won't see it from the inside, you won't see it from the outside. I'm going to go over about 2 stitches and pop back out so that it is in that. Let's see if you can see it. It's poking out of a stitch. So I skipped a little bit, and I'm going to pull that all the way through. So now it is officially starting to be attached. Now again, I want this to be as close to the top as possible, so the whole time I'm going to keep pulling it up. Now where I came out, I had skipped a stitch, so I'm going to backtrack and go into the stitch that I skipped. I'm going to insert my needle into that and into that canvas, like I said, right close to the top. And then I'm going to go up, and again I'm going to go in between the 2 layers, so I don't want it going through on the inside, I don't want it coming out of the outside until I'm ready. I'm going to skip a stitch, and then make sure it's up at the top. I'm going to push that needle. Again, it's coming out of a stitch a little bit further up. I'm going to pull that string through here. Make sure that's real good and snug. I'm going to do the same thing over and over. So I'm going to go back to that stitch that I skipped, reinsert my needle through the stitch, through that canvas, and I'm going to maneuver it up so that I can skip a stitch, pop back out of the canvas, and then hit that next stitch. So I'm pretty much just playing leapfrog. Every once in a while I'm going to make sure the bag is in here so that it's sitting equally, so it doesn't bunch up. We want to just keep working all the way around until we get to the back, because this is going to take a little bit of time. Since this is already almost 45 minutes in, I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera, and then I will go ahead and come back when I get to the end. All right, so I am back and I'm at the end, and as long as you had done the leapfrog kind of stitch, you should be super secure on here. And as long as you were close to that zipper, it should look really nice. So now at the end here, I kind of went through a few extra stitches just to make sure that this is really on there real nice and it's not going to go anywhere. And then this is the end with the zipper. So I'm going to again just go through one last time here. Even though I've done a few, I'm going to do one last one. And then while the needle's like halfway through there, I'm going to take that cord and just wrap it around twice. I'm going to make sure that that is knotted real nice. And then what I'm going to do is take my needle, go into those stitches here, and kind of bury the yarn somewhere in there. And then where it's popping out, I'm going to go ahead and cut that off as close as I can without cutting my work. Leave that in. So there we have it. Now if you do your stitches just fine, you're going to be able to pull, well, I guess I can't pull it out because it's attached to the bottom, but so that insert, you are not able to see any of those stitches I did on that insert. They're in between that insert and the canvas. But all of my crocheted stitches are attached right along that zipper in a nice straight line. that little embellishment roughly in the middle of the front there. I can go ahead and zip this shut, and it's just, I love them. They're fun, and we sell quite a few of them. They seem to be pretty popular. I think this would be a really good size for a small makeup bag, or some sort of toiletry bag, or even a pencil bag with any kids in school. So there's my granny stitch cover with my canvas insert bag. That is how they are made. No matter what size you do with or without the little embellishment on there, that is how those are made. So thank you for, again, taking the time out. If you make one of these of your own, I'd be interested to see pictures. Go ahead and send a comment photo and tag me in it so I can see, because I'm curious how good of a tutor I am on some of these things. But thank you again, and I would really appreciate if you would at least like my channel. It's going to be having a bit more videos on here, but it would be really nice to have some of my my customer base be fans of the channel. So with that being said, take care and stay warm.